Paste here. Promotion. Okay, it says that. There's that. Paste there. Send. Right. Now I can click the pop-out chat. And if I click this, does it say... yeah. Yes, that is good. That is very good. Very, very good. All right. Where's the pop-out chat window? There it is. Alrighty. Hey guys, Ranner and Shades here. Excited my first to memorize stream style. How you guys doing? So, got a little fun thing for this stream today. I'm sure at least some of you guys that watch me also watch the Punk Rock MBA. He's one of my favorite YouTubers. Very knowledgeable when it comes to business and marketing and sort of analyzing the various aspects of what makes a band successful and how to sort of maintain that success. It's very beneficial for me as someone who wants to go into that industry, but overall, I love his analysis and his commentary and whatnot. He's an excellent, excellent, excellent YouTuber. So, yesterday, he put out a video, where he does one of these, tier lists that I'm sure you guys are very familiar with, and he left a download for this particular one, and it actually opens up in GIMP, which is the program that I use to make my thumbnails and other just general image edits and whatnot. I did this last year. I didn't make a video of this or anything like that, but when ARTV and Infinity on Hannah, his girlfriend, they were doing, some tier lists and they left download links for it, I messed with those, and I'm going to be doing the same with Finn's over here. So let's switch over to here. And let's play. So first I'm going to just say hi to the chat. I could tell he's going to put power metal a bit higher than Finn did. Yeah, I'll spoil that much. Literally just got home from work. Hey, Felix. Always like when you pop in. I disagree with so many of his opinions, but when he's just talking about history and advice, yeah, that's the big thing that I appreciate about what Finn does and whatnot. On both of his channels, actually. So, let us begin. So, we'll start with, I'll go in the order that they appear in the, let me see if you guys can see it. It's the list of layers on the right side over there. I'm going to go in that order. So we'll start with Mall Screamo. So, in Finn's video, he basically used this to refer to, the popular post-hardcore emo stuff from, the mid-2000s and whatnot, like Taking Back Sunday, The Used, and, bands along those lines. Bands that I have mostly classed under post-hardcore and whatnot. Post-hardcore is definitely a genre that I like. I consider it to be kind of versatile, sort of the bridging gap between pop-punk and metalcore. And thus, I like it a good bit. There's some very good bands within, post-hardcore and whatnot. Mall Screamo, whatever. So where am I going to put this? I'm going to put this in the A tier. It's not something I love enough to put in the S tier, but I'd say I like it a fair amount more than, some of the other stuff. So, next, TRL core pop punk. And what Finn described in his video, he used this to refer to, the late 90s, early 2000s pop punk. Basically what I call the first wave of pop punk. The second wave is like the mid to late 2000s, and the third wave is 2010s to present. So with that in mind, you know I dig the stuff, you know. I'm not sure if it's this or the third wave that I consider to be my favorite wave of pop punk, my favorite era, if you will. But it is, you know, there are a number of bands from that era that I love nonetheless. It's an S tier right here. I'll try to engage with the chat in between these. The site tier maker has a bunch. Yeah, I've messed around on that before. I'm not sure. I'm debating on, you know, having a stream where I just mess around on there. Maybe I might do so after this one. It depends on, you know, how long I've been going for. Just people saying hi. Mall Screamo, Hot Topic, basically, was literally chanting My Chem when you said Mall Screamo. Yeah, because that's a band that Finn actually mentioned in his video right there. I'm not sure I'd classify My Chem as Screamo or anything like that. I have them classed under pop punk because I wouldn't say they're, you know, if anything, they're sort of a midway between pop punk and post-hardcore. Like, they're not as simplistic as a lot of pop punk tends to get, but I wouldn't say they're as weird as post-hardcore tends to be. First wave pop punk be like Descendants. Maybe, I don't know. Pop punk, I don't really think really materialized itself as a real thing until like the early mid-90s. I don't really consider a lot of bands prior to like 91, I'm gonna say, pop punk, but just regular punk, and we'll get to that later. As Avenue Teal is saying right there, Descendants are most certainly the foundation of it. Favorite Phil Collins song? I'm gonna have to give that to probably You'll Be in My Heart from Tarzan. So anyway, moving on. Thrash metal. Okay, so thrash metal is kind of weird with me. You know, it is a genre I like, but a lot of bands in there I can kind of take or leave. Like, I'll take listening to thrash metal over a number of, you know, extreme genres, but it's a genre I tend to kind of burn myself out on a bit easily. Like, definitely there's some very good bands in thrash metal. You know, I don't even need to tell you. But it isn't really one that it's not really a genre that I'm like in love with and whatnot. Early Megadeth and Havoc are like my tops with thrash metal. But like with most genres, you know, the further you dig in there, the more samey a lot of the stuff tends to be. Thrash metal, I'm going to put in B tier. Like, it's something I like, but not something I would go as out of my way to listen to as these other two over here. Favorite Phil Oh, you like Strangers Like Me. That's another Tarzan song. And thoughts on Static Dress, I don't know what that is. Moving on. New School OSDM. He referred to this in his video as New School Old School Death Metal, which is basically just referring to newer death metal bands that have a more old school kind of sound and whatnot. And I'm sure you guys probably can already imagine what I probably think of this. It's not exactly something that's my cup of tea. Death metal is definitely not something I really go out of my way for. You know, it's not something I tend to dig super deep into, but, you know, if someone recommends a good death metal band and I check it out and it really sort of, you know, manages to tickle my fancy, then I'm like, oh, sweet. I wouldn't say a lot of those bands have a super old school sound. I'm going to put this... Wow, why am I moving that? I should be hovering more carefully over this. So I'm going to put this in E tier. I don't hate it, but it's definitely not something I consider, you know, a favorite or anything like that. I'm very picky when it comes to thrash. My favorite is Death Angel. They're good. They're very exceptional. The Filipino-American thrash band. I prefer Melodeath. Yeah, and we'll get to that later. Next up, neo-thrash, which Finn basically used to refer to like the new school thrash metal bands like Municipal Waste and Lich King, I guess you'd probably class in there as well. And, you know, I'm not sure. I don't really feel like there needs to be sort of a separation between the two, because at the end of the day, it's all thrash and whatnot. So for that reason, I'm putting it on the B tier with thrash metal. Next, Grindcore. Probably going to piss some people off with this. I've never liked Grindcore. I always thought it sounded kind of terrible. Like, it's fine if you like it. I'm not going to be that guy that's like, you know, you're not allowed to like something because I don't like it. No, I'd be the biggest hypocrite if I were to come on here and say that. But Grindcore really, really is not for me. I've never heard anything that sounds really redeeming about it. It's never been for me. I am sorry. Fuck yeah to Melodeath, early Opeth, and In Flames. What's your opinion on songwriter Max Martin? Had some potential, I guess, in his early days, but nowadays, you know, nowadays I consider him kind of a not good songwriter in the pop world. I don't know. He's come out with some tunes. Skate punk. Next in this thing. So, skate punk essentially refers to mostly like 90s, late 80s and 90s punk bands that aren't like pop punk or anything like that. Musically, I think they have a lot in common with hardcore, which is why a lot of bands that get grouped as skate punk, I tend to list in my iTunes as hardcore. Bands like Strung Out, NoFX, Pennywise, Offspring not so much. Offspring I have under pop punk. Number of others. Lagwagon I have under regular punk, but they're part of that whole scene too. Who else? You know, just about any other band you could think of on Fat Rat Chords. So I like the stuff. Consider it quite good. Wouldn't say I like it as much as, you know, a lot of like melodic hardcore and pop punk and whatnot, but make no mistake, definitely some very good bands in the skate punk thing. I'm gonna put this one in A tier. Same here. Never understood the appeal for grindcore. Offspring, Carcass's Hard Work, in my opinion, the best Metaldeath album. Didn't see Slam on the list. Oh, what are my thoughts on it? I hate it. I do not like it one bit. I think it's terrible, but again, if you like it, that's fine. Max Martin is such a fascinating person, I suppose. Hardcore. Well, I was just talking about hardcore a little bit ago. It's right up with pop punk as like my favorite, you know, in punk. You know, so many great bands I could name in hardcore, like a Wilhelm Scream and Mute and Strike Anywhere and Comeback Kid and Forest and Such Gold and Knocked Loose, a newer one. It's great. You know, hardcore is... If you're a metal fan and you're wanting to sort of step off into punk, hardcore is definitely where I'd recommend you tread to first. I'm putting this in the S tier. I can't believe fucking Emo Rap is on here. We'll get to that, I assure you. Devourment, Go Hard Though. Mr. Martin gave Bon Jovi a hit in the 2000s. Right. He was the one who wrote Who Says You Can't Go Home. I think it was that one. It was either that or a different one. Favorite song written by Max Martin. I loved Larger Than Life by Backstreet Boys. That's my favorite Backstreet Boys song. Never really been a fan of Britney Spears. It's Gonna Be Me by NSYNC. And It's My Life. That's what it was. It wasn't Who Says You Can't Go Home. It was It's My Life. I always forget about that, but it's a pretty good song. With Jovi, I tend to gravitate more towards the first 5 albums. But yeah. Real punk. Now, for this, I'm just going to use this to refer to as just straight punk rock. Like, not hardcore, not pop punk, not post-hardcore, but just, just straight up regular punk rock, like Ramones and stuff like that. It's not stuff that I love, but there are certainly, definitely it's gems. You really, can't go wrong with a lot of the stuff. For me, I'm putting it in B tier. Next in the thing on the right is death metal. Now, sure, a lot of people who've been watching me for a long time or have, glazed over some of my most popular uploads will know that I have a video in my catalog called Why I Don't Like a Lot of Death Metal, and it's still a video I mostly stand by. I'm really not into the, the brutal stuff and whatnot. I'm kind of picky with how I like my death metal to sound. I'm a lot more into progressive death and melodic death. But that said, it's not a genre I hate. Anybody who really got that impression from watching the video, I think kind of missed the point of it and wasn't really, listening carefully and whatnot. So, where am I going to put it? I'm going to put it in C tier. It's stuff that I can listen to, but it's definitely not something I go as out of my way to listen to as even thrash metal or punk rock. And it's definitely not stuff I go as out of my way to listen to as post-hardcore, hardcore, and pop punk and whatnot. Have you ever two-stepped to Smoke on the Water? No. I knew Max Martin was involved with It's My Life, as the beginning had a whirring sound I heard in Britney Spears' Stronger. Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight? I like some of Max's work on Teenage Dream. Next is, where is it? There it is, Grunge. Now, I'm sure a lot of people know that I'm kind of a know-it-all with glam metal or hair metal, whatever you want to call it. You'd probably think that, I really resent grunge or dislike it, but I do not, actually. Rather, and I said this in the Why I Hate the Rock is Dead argument video, were it not for grunge, I feel like rock in the 90s would have gotten kind of played out and generic and kind of boring. If everything just sounded like the 80s, then there'd be no progression and, rock probably would have not maintained the relevance that it has over the last, few decades. And I feel a lot of that has to do with grunge being as much of a game changer as it is. I might not really like Nirvana, whatnot, but that's the one thing that I've always respected about them, more so than the actual music. And funny, I'm wearing my Foo Fighters shirt as I say that. Most bands in grunge I either class under alternative rock or alternative metal, because, bands like Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, Mother Love Bone, they definitely have a pretty, I'd say pretty heavy sound, especially Alice in Chains. Most other grunge acts I have under just alternative rock and whatnot. So where am I going to put this? I'm going to put it in A tier. Go away, you stupid link. Batman reference. It seems a lot of people know of grunge. I notice industrial turned into industrial metal. Yeah, I mean, industrial was kind of a thing before the industrial metal stuff took off a little bit later in the 90s. One thing that shocked me was that Wayne Isham, a director for most 80s metal band videos, later did videos for boy bands like 98 and NSYNC, probably because that was the most marketable. Kurt hated being famous. Yeah, that's one thing that a lot of people don't seem to realize about Kurt Cobain is he always resented being super commercial and all that, and I think that was a big part in why he decided to sort of go out with a bang, so to speak. Grunge didn't kill hair metal. Cherry Pie by Warrant did. Okay. I don't hate Cherry Pie. I think it's an okay song. I don't even think it's a shit song. It's just that Warrant have just about everything else on that album blows Cherry Pie the song out the water. Like, outside of that song, Cherry Pie is an excellent album, in my opinion. Listen to a song like Uncle Tom's Cabin, or You're the Only Hell Your Mama Ever Raised, or Love in Stereo, or I Saw Red, very good and very personal ballad. And Mr. Rainmaker, that's another one. Their cover of Train Train. There's some great songs on Cherry Pie. And the album before that, Dirty, Rotten, Filthy, Stinkin' Rich, that's my favorite from Warrant. But honestly, the story behind Cherry Pie, it's kind of unfortunate. You know, it was written at the very last minute because the label wanted to have a hit single like Love in an Elevator, and that's basically what led to Cherry Pie being written. And fun fact, they had CeCe DeVille of Poison play the guitar solo on that. I thought that was kind of cool, though I've definitely heard better from him. But yeah. It was Grunge's popularity, I would say, certainly played a part in it, but I think another part was that by like 91, the stuff was becoming kind of played out and kind of typical. No one was really doing anything super extraordinary. I mean, some were, and it's certainly stuff that I enjoy, but as far as like a critical consensus and whatnot, people, I guess, wanted something a bit different, and that's something I would like to see happen again. I want to catch up with the chat. Max's production on Kelly Clarkson's 2 songs, Since You've Been Gone and Behind These Hazel Eyes, is phenomenal. I love those roaring guitars. Behind These Hazel Eyes is a very good song. Because of You, though, that's my favorite of Kelly Clarkson. I misread it and thought it said MTA list. What? No, Punk Rock MBA, not MDA. No. The Punk Rock MDA would be like MDA trying to appeal to punk rock kids and whatnot, sort of wearing a backwards hat and riding a skateboard and wearing some baggy shorts and whatnot. It'd be embarrassing. No shitty bogged down acoustic songs like fucking More Than Words from Extreme and To Be With You by Mr. Big. Extreme and Mr. Big are both excellent bands. It's just that it's just unfortunate that those are the 2 songs that they're best known for. Do you like Fallen in Reverse? No. Speaking of which, what makes Backstreet Boys better than NSYNC? I don't know. I'm really not sure. Probably having a song like Larger Than Life, or a song that's as timeless as I Want It That Way. I don't like the fact Rock Band and Guitar Hero only paid attention to Cherry Pie. Yeah, I wish they'd put like a Warrant song on Rock the 80s. That would have been awesome. Acclaimed filmmaker David Fincher did videos for both Nine Inch Nails, Madonna, and Justin Timberlake. So I'm pretty sure Be Against the Law is a great one too. Yeah, that's my favorite song from Warrant. I didn't list it because it's on the first album, not the second one. Johnny Lane also disowned Cherry Pie. Not surprised there. Actually, New Kids on the Block, they were the first boy bands. I wish MDA were still around so he could make a shitty parody. No, I don't want that at all. I really don't want MDA around at all. I think it's for the best that he's gone, and it's not even just the fact it's not even just because of, what we now know about him. I have my other reasons, but I don't want to get too into that. To Be With You is a good song. It's just that it's just that pretty much everything else that you hear from Mr. Big is just excellent. Listen to a song like the Electric Drill song or Colorado Bulldog. It's awesome. Do you like Silverchair? Yeah. Hot take, Fred Durst is the best example of how to be a perfect frontman. I can see that. What category would you put Red Jumpsuit Apparatus on? Post-hardcore, probably. Did you see the Fred Durst directed movie, The Fanatic? I've heard about it. Atticus the Death Metaler was talking to me about that movie. I'm interested in checking it out. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. I need to get back to this, though. Crabcore. I'm never really sure what Crabcore really is. Because I know Attack Attack is like, the go-to reference for like Crabcore, but it's really just, it doesn't really have a sound associated with it. It's really just metalcore with, and it gets its name, of course, from the guitarists squatting down really low and whatnot. I'm putting this. I'm gonna, fuck, no, I'm not trying to move that, black rectangle. I'm probably gonna put it on E tier. I wouldn't say I hate it as much as Grindcore, but it's definitely not something I would go out of my way to listen to. Play With Me is a huge Big Boy FC and Guitar Hero 80s and smash hits. Play With Me, you need to listen to that song. It's my favorite Extreme song. The way and this leads into the really amazing story of how I got into Extreme. I had seen the movie Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and in that movie, when all the guys are in the mall, Beethoven is in the music shop and he's playing a keyboard and he plays the solo in Play With Me, and I'm thinking, this is awesome. And I'm going online, searching on Google, like, what is the song that Beethoven plays on the keyboard in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure? Play With Me by Extreme. And that is what led me to getting into Extreme. I Miss You in a Heartbeat by Def Leppard is an acoustic ballad done right. Bring It On the Heartbreak. That's not acoustic. But it's another good ballad. Atticus is raving about the Fanatic. Yep. My least favorite genre, if I had to choose one. I don't know. Most electronic. Crunkcore. You know what? That's probably my actual least favorite, because there's at least some electronic stuff that has some redeeming elements to it. Crunkcore, there is none. Crabcore is like Attack Attack, Aston Alexandria, Of Mice and Men, basically metalcore with a bunch of dun riffs. I do like Of Mice and Men. I'm not sure. I do think they have more talent, I would say, than Aston Alexandria. It has the production value of an amateur first-time student film, but they somehow got John Travolta involved in it. Fun fact, my former teacher's best friend's cousin is the bass player to Extreme. Wow. Your former teacher's best friend's cousin is Pat Badger. Get the Funk Out is my favorite Extreme song. It's also Brian May's favorite guitar solo. Wow, interesting. That's a fun song, Get the Funk Out. Fun fact, I was originally going to have that song be my outro song once I created my first outro, but I didn't end up going with it. Play With Me is an incredible song. While More Than Words is good, it's got nothing at all on Play With Me, exactly. Next, Metalcore 1.0, which Finn, in his video, used this to talk about basically the first wave metalcore of, like, the early 2000s and whatnot. Now, It is stuff I dig. I wouldn't say I'm a huge metalcore aficionado. It's not a genre I go super out of my way to really dig into and whatnot. But if a band is presented to me, you know, especially a progressive metalcore, then I'm sold pretty easily. So where am I ranking this? Putting this in A tier, because there are definitely some excellent metalcore bands, especially from that first part of the 2000s, like Killswitch and As I Lay Dying, you name it. I'll do one more of these before going back to reading the chat. Gent. Gent is the future of metal. And really like prog metal in general, which gent is basically sort of a subgenre of. But, you know, I would say gent is where a lot of the most innovation is taking place. And really, the thing I like the best about gent is that there's something for everybody with, or at least something for everybody, you know, who's a fan of metal. Like, even if you're not a fan of, like, you know, screaming and whatnot, there's some good cleans. If you're someone that likes, you know, progginess and whatnot, gent's got that. If you're someone that, you know, just likes, you know, guitar wankery and shredding and whatnot, like me, then it's got that, of course, as well. So that's why I think, you know, even if you're like, you know, a ride or die, like, old school fan and whatnot, you should at the very least, you know, check some, you know, bands that, you know, are labeled as gent out, if nothing else than for the musicality and whatnot. Favorite dance rock? It depends on what dance rock is defined as. Someone I know that works at the local guitar center is a nephew of the brothers in Blue Oyster Cult. Huh. My least favorite genre is to be black metal because it's just unlistenable to me. We will get to that. Or actually, what's your opinion on Unicorns Killed by Girlfriend? Whose channel was this on? Was this on Atticus's channel? I think it was on Atticus's channel. He did a collab reaction video for to Unicorns Killed My Girlfriend. It sounds like shit. Post-black metal is worse. Oh my god, you remember fucking Eol. Oh. Oh god. I don't even want to know if that band is still a thing. My favorite extreme song is Without You. Wait, no, that's when Sharon was in Van Halen. Haha, funny. Speaking of Killswitch Engage, what are 3 of your favorite songs of theirs? My Curse would be my favorite. Always, I would also throw up there. Their cover of Holy Diver, I think, is awesome. So there's 3. Least favorite decade for music. Probably 50s, I want to say, if only because I just don't really listen to a ton of 50s stuff. I don't go super out of my way to listen to a lot of that old-timey rock and roll kind of stuff. You know, my taste really starts to sort of kick in once you get to, like, 1963, I would say, and later in the 60s is when it really starts to sort of amp up. All right, moving on. Butt rock. That is a term that I really don't like. I always thought it was kind of demeaning and just kind of dumb and whatnot. It's meant to refer to, like, hard rock, basically. Hard rock and post-grunge and that kind of stuff. Stuff that I can enjoy, but again, it's not stuff that I would go, you know, out of my way to listen to. Like, especially like nowadays in 2020, like, the way I see it, you know, hard rock is fine. I just don't really think we need more of it, you know, because, you know, like I was saying about grunge and gent, those were both innovative, and I'm not really seeing too much innovation with, you know, a lot of hard rock and whatnot. Like, it's not to say that the bands suck or anything, I just don't really think we need any more of it. I'm going to put this in B tier. Which is basically, if you can sort of figure out right now, B tier is like stuff I like, but I'm not really wanting to dig super deep into. A tier is stuff that I definitely like and think there's some excellent bands within there, but I wouldn't say I go as out of my way for them as the stuff in the S tier, which, is where a lot of my bread and butter tends to lie. And C tier is basically stuff that it's not bad, not awful, but not something that I would consider a favorite either. Sort of the neutral one right here. Favorite Metallica song. My favorite Metallica song is Fade to Black. Other songs I would throw up there would include Master of Puppets, Orion, To Live Is to Die, Blackened, Trapped Under Ice, the title track on Ride the Lightning, etc., etc. I could go on. I remember you said in one of your videos a long time ago that if you let your kids listen to black metal, you're an awful parent, and I thought that was too far. I don't even know which video that was. I really don't have much of a memory for my oldest videos. But I don't know. I wouldn't say black metal is the most kid-friendly kind of stuff out there, but as far as that statement goes, in hindsight, the best thing I can say about it is that it's probably hyperbolic, facetious, not really something super serious about, but you'll have to let me know which video that comes from so I can understand the context of where that got brought up in, because I really don't remember. Depends on what the black metal is. I'd say the same because there's nothing that I really like until maybe this late 70s. Favorite era of metal? Personally, I picked 2000s, about 2004, 2011 especially, but that's just me. Either 2000s or 90s, I would probably say. 80s, of course, there's some excellent stuff and whatnot. It's really between those three and whatnot. All of those have some excellent, material and whatnot. Butt rock or mallcore are the worst so-called labels. Mallcore. Another really cringy term. My curse has to be my fave as well. Someone I used to hang out with in high school. Guitar class that used to play My Curse a lot. Favorite butt rock band is Breaking Benjamin. Breaking Benjamin is one of my favorite bands in general. Butt rock is the biggest what I've ever heard when I heard about said genre. Favorite of butt rock's probably Seether. Breaking Benjamin and Seether I both have under alt metal. Funny enough, title track of Red Lightning is my YouTube intro. Wow, cool. Arias's videos aren't linear, so don't take what he said about BM too seriously. Yeah, there are certainly, some aspects of, my oldest videos that I can say I don't exactly agree with nowadays, but, I still keep them up because the general point of the video I still stand by. Favorite song from Huey Lewis and the News? Power of Love. That's one that I will never not rock out to if it comes on anywhere. And the one that I'm in a consistently good mood with. Anyway, moving on. Emo Rap. Unless Post Malone counts as an emo rap artist, I don't like emo rap. I've mentioned this a number of times before, how I'm very, much like with death metal, I'm very particular with how I like my rap to sound. I'm very particular with, my taste in rap, and the emo rap stuff just doesn't align well with it to me. Post Malone, I think, has some good songs, though, just on their own and whatnot, but emo rap, it's not something that I am really deeply enthralled with or anything like that. Same with, the SoundCloud mumble trap stuff. Again, like I've been saying, it's fine if you like it, it's just not really for me. Power metal. Alright. Now, like one of you said at the beginning of this, that I was probably going to be ranking power metal higher than Finn did, and you'd be correct. Power metal, I sort of have a similar kind of opinion on with thrash metal. Excellent bands that play this. The bands have just about everything I could want in a metal band, but it's not a genre that I really dig super deep with and go super out of my way for. I don't go out of my way to look into new bands unless, you know, a band is presented to me. I like what they have to offer. Like, there have been times, like, when I watch a Razorfist video and he always has, you know, a cool song in his outro, and if I've never heard of the band, I'll give them a look into and whatnot. That said, though, I'd probably rank power metal not in the B tier with thrash metal. I'd probably put that on the A tier, because there's definitely elements of power metal that I think are objectively excellent enough to not get it put in the B tier, but it's still not something I would, you know, put in the S tier. BTFF vibes. Great tune. I've always loved Hard Soul. That's cool. Huey Lewis and the News. They're an excellent, like, 80s AOR rock band. Like a little bit of Lil Extra. Emo Rap to fuck. I'm not sure why this is on a list of metal and rock genres, but hey, whatever. Emo Rap is an oxymoron of itself. Not really. Emo basically just refers to a lyrical matter more so than, you know, more so than musical and whatnot. That's why I don't really consider emo a regular, like, genre, but more of, like, a lyrical subject that bands kind of drift off in, because, you know, even in a lot of, you know, heavier genres and whatnot, there are lyrics that, you know, one could class as emo due to them being dark or personal and stuff like that. Like, you know, to go back to a song I mentioned earlier in here, I Saw Red by Warrant, very personal song written about Johnny Lane walking in on his girlfriend in bed with his best friend. Could that song be considered emo because of how, you know, emotional and personal it is? That's always been sort of my thing with the term emo, which is why I don't really use it a whole lot. Surprised industrial metal isn't listed. If industrial metal was listed, I'd probably put it in the C tier, because there aren't really a whole lot of bands that I am really into with industrial metal. And it's definitely not something I go super out of my way for. I like Lil Peep and some of the less rap-style Juice WRLD. Juice WRLD I have sort of come around on a little bit, but not totally and whatnot. Like, I can see the appeal of Juice WRLD more than I can with a number of, you know, emo rappers and all that. Don't like the sound of emo rap at all, but yeah, Post Malone is great though, and yeah, it's fine if you like just not my cup of tea. Traditional heavy, thrash, and new metal are the best. Power and thrash are my main styles. Yeah. I mainly like metalcore 1.0, new metal, and crabcore. I Saw Red. My heart it's spilled onto the floor, not filled. The issue with the emotional lyric thing, that means literally every band can be considered emo. Exactly, that's why I don't really like the term that much. Metallica is emo because of Fade to Black and Nothing Else Matters. Yeah, that's why I don't really like the term. Have you heard of Mr. 96? I've heard of him. I haven't watched anything of his though. Probably should at some point, but yeah. I do know that he is a pretty underrated music reviewer, undersubscribed, I should say, and whatnot. Lil Lotus literally just makes emo music with hip-hop instruments. There's no rap. That's kind of my thing with a lot of emo rap, is that a lot of it is just straight singing and whatnot, outside of, like, I guess the beat work and whatnot. Moving on. Easycore. Now, Easycore, a lot of bands that are labeled as Easycore, I have classed under either pop punk or post-hardcore, because just like what I said about post-hardcore, Easycore is sort of a bridging gap between pop punk and metalcore, though I suppose easycore could also be like the bridging gap between pop punk and post-hardcore. Like, it's got some technicality to it, but it's also got a real catchiness factor to it, and for that reason, I think the stuff is excellent. So I'm going to be putting this in the S tier. I can never say no to easycore. I wouldn't say it's something I go super out of my way to dig into and whatnot, which would probably justify it probably being a bit down on here, but again, I just cannot say no to it at all. Like, to me, I feel like easycore is like the future of pop punk. Like, it's got a little something more to offer than just your run-of-the-mill pop punk and stuff. Do you like the GNR song My World? The song that seemingly every GNR fan hates with a burning passion. I always thought the song that was always sort of the black sheep with Guns N' Roses was One in a Million and whatnot. But yeah, I think it's fine for what it is, I guess. Probably because every GNR fan has PTSD of hearing about Bieber's My World. Although I don't listen to it. What about kawaii metal or whatever? Yeah, you'd think that's something that Finn would probably have on this thing. It's basically just pop punk with breakdowns, precisely. Ska. I'm definitely going to be probably ranking this higher than Finn did as well. And here's my thing with ska. Ska is a genre that I'm never unhappy listening to. But at the same time, it's not a genre I go super out of my way for. It's not something I go super out of my way to find bands that play. You know, I'm sort of limited with the stuff that I listen to from ska and whatnot. But make no mistake, it is some of the most fun stuff ever. And everybody should listen to it at least once, especially if you're feeling down and need a pick-me-up. That's one thing that ska is great for. As for me, I'm going to be putting this on the C tier. It's not stuff I go as out of my way for as this other stuff, but make no mistake, the bands that I do like, they're great. They're fun. Worst glam metal album you ever heard? My least favorite glam metal band, I've always said, is Wrathchild America. I always thought they sounded really trashy and whatnot. Pop punks in 2020 either sounds like 5 Seconds of Summer or Day to Remember. Yeah, the 5 Seconds of Summer stuff, that's kind of the tangent that I am not really crazy about. Nu metal never died? Correct, it never died. My uncle is a bass player in a ska band. Cool. Ska can be good. I basically just like No Doubt and Sublime. I don't even consider either of those bands ska. I have them both under alternative rock. With ska, you know, the stuff that I like is basically just boils down to Real Big Fish, Less Than Jake, Catch-22, Operation Ivy, Mighty Mighty Bosstones, English Beat. I feel like there's probably more. Let me go over to my genre list over here and see if I'm missing anybody. Area 7, a band that I got into through watching Rocket Power as a kid, and they had a song called Individuality featured in one of the TV movies. Big D and the Kids Table. Why'd I forget them? Madness and Save Ferris and Streetlight Manifesto. Those are basically my tops with ska. Red Sun Rising is number one top band of all. They're good. They're quite good. I got into them last year. They're quite good. Nu metal never died because bands like I Prevail, Motionless in White, and the Amity Affliction kept it going. I wouldn't say so much bands like those. I would say bands like Cane Hill, I would say. are, sort of keeping the stuff, prevalent and whatnot. No Doubt is amazing. Yeah, I agree, new metal never died, nor did metal as a whole, but the elitists really do give it a bad name, though. I thought Wrathchild America, I meant to say, did I say America? I thought I meant to say UK, if I did. Wrathchild America is the thrash band. UK is the really trashy glam one. Yes, I meant Wrathchild UK. Yes. Fuck. Wow, this is the most embarrassing thing I've ever done on YouTube. Commercial success is what made rock mainstream, though. Exactly, and that's why I said in the Why I Hate the Rock is Dead argument video that bands should not be afraid of going mainstream, and fans shouldn't resent bands going mainstream. Rock would have died a lot quicker without new metal. That's exactly what I said about grunge in this stream. I only know Mighty Mighty Bosstones through Elbowpalooza special. Less Than Jake also. New metal blew up big in the 2000s with huge commercial success. Late 90s, I would say, more so. Do you like Parkway Drive? They are tied with Bullet for My Valentine for being my favorite metalcore band. I don't know if they are, but would Smash Mouth be considered ska? Maybe kind of. I think they do have some elements of it. On the whole, I think they're more alternative rock. Today's rock and metal makes a big difference than 70s, 80s, and 90s hits, but still has that ballsy touch to the mix. Alright, back to this. Deathcore. Now, basically everything that I said about death metal here definitely applies to deathcore. A lot of what I said in the Why I Don't Like a Lot of Death Metal video, even though one thing that I said in that video was that, I wasn't, conflating death metal with deathcore, but a lot of what I said in that video really, I would say, does apply to deathcore. It's definitely not something I go out of my way to listen to, but unlike with death metal, I feel like death metal has more endearances and redeeming characteristics of it than deathcore does, which is why I'm putting it in D tier. Midwest emo. Now, I'm not entirely sure what Midwest emo refers to, but in Finn's video, he played a clip from American Football, which I think are an excellent band. So basically, like that early emo kind of stuff that has some like math elements of it and what not. Where am I going to put this? Probably in B tier. Not something I go as out of my way for as the above stuff, and it's probably, I go as out of my way for it as, thrash metal, punk rock, and hard rock. I don't get why some elitists hate punk rock MBA. Probably because he isn't a black metal fan, and probably also for some of the things he said about melodic death and whatnot. I'm not really entirely sure where he comes from with, how he doesn't think they don't mix. I definitely don't agree with him on that. And if anything, it's probably also because he speaks highly of metalcore and whatnot, and according to the Metal Elitist Bible, metalcore equals Satan and whatnot. The Wrathchild thing reminds me of an old feud on YouTube where someone had a YouTube channel with the name UK and someone unrelated made one with USA in the name, and he claimed he was the American version. That sounds silly. He wasn't BTW. When I bought All Star back in 2009 on iTunes, the genre was listed as ska. Funny enough, that's what I always sort of thought, like the lead into the chorus, the do-do-do. It reminds me a lot of, in ska when you hear the Barry sax go do-do. That's why I think it has a good bit in common with ska. Nowadays they're listed as either alternative or pop. Real Big Fish and Less Than Jake are two of the bands that have been on the most Warped tours. Of course, they're like the two best known ska bands, I would say. Them and Mighty Mighty Bosstones, I would say, are the best known ones. Pop Evil is like an unemo version of My Chemical Romance. I'd say they're a bit heavier, I would say. I don't know. I wonder, though, why do many elitists hate nu metal, deathcore, metalcore, and I don't even call bands like Slipknot or even Suicide Silence metal. They are metal, definitely. They're just different genres of metal. I feel like it's that resentment of the bands becoming popular and, them being people's introduction to metal and whatnot. But again, I really don't see how that's a bad thing. Midwest emo, I've never heard of Midwest emo. It's not even really a term I really heard until Finn used it when he was talking about stuff he didn't want to make a video about. I'm still not even really too sure what classifies, an emo band as being Midwest emo, other than the fact that they're from the Midwest and whatnot. But just emo in general, the general, emo and whatnot. I'm putting that on the B tier. Bassist of Foo Fighters was in an emo band. That is correct. Nate Mendel was in Sunny Day Real Estate, and that is how I got into Sunny Day Real Estate. Metal elitists hate punk rock MBA because he wears hats. I think that's a joke, but if that's true, then wow, that's dumb. Those elitists stuck in the past. They're the reason. They're definitely a contributing factor to why rock is sort of not where people would really like it to be, is because of people with sort of an elitist kind of outlook, whether it be in terms of popularity level or in terms of, what was I thinking of? In terms of like not staying true to what you're supposed to do in a genre and whatnot. And just the whole supposed to aspect is something that I think just hurts the stuff. Because if you think about it, I said this in the Why I Hate the Rock is Dead argument video, a number of bands that we know, a big part of why some bands got to where they are is because they strayed away from the norm of their genre. Do you like Woven more? Yeah. I like them a fair bit. I'm not sure what I would say would be my favorite song of theirs. I've never really picked one, but they're all right. As I Lay Dying now actually being back together and whatnot, I'm not sure if Woven War is going to be a thing for a while anyway. But hey, As It Is, like what Ozzy Osbourne would be if he was the frontman for King Diamond. Are you talking about the band As It Is? Your capitalization here is making it sort of hard to understand. Where would doom metal be listed? I also highly recommend Chemists. They put out a really good cover of Rainbow in the Dark. Doom metal, it's not really something I'm super into. Definitely not something I'd go out of my way for. On my tier list, I'd probably be putting it in E tier. Yeah, pretty much they give metal a bad name. I find it ironic since they hate being judged, yet they think it's okay to judge others. Yeah, all stuff that I've done videos on. What are some of your favorite songs by Ambush? Again, I'm not really sure I've really picked one, but Ambush, I would say, are definitely a band that, 80s metal purists and whatnot should definitely give a shot, because they have a sound that they can definitely dig if they like what Iron Maiden does, if they like what Halloween does, if they like that kind of stuff. Lead singer of Red Song Rising has a new band now entitled The Violence. I don't understand why so many, not just metal elitists, but people in general, have this negative thing towards emo. I get if you used to have or phase or whatever, but many normies hated that never had one and whatnot. And going back to what I was saying before about, why I never really got the label emo, what I was saying before about emo being like a lyrical matter, and how literally any band could be considered emo for that reason, that I feel gives elitists even less of a reason to, have such an aversion to emo. Also, fuck Metal Archives. Yeah, never really cared for them. Metalists are extremely superficial, and though they hate to admit it, they think that image comes first before the music, which is absolutely not true. Image does kind of need to be a factor because that's a thing that sort of helps you to stand out, at least to a degree. So, and literally every band I think is aware of this. Even their favorite bands are kind of aware of this. Even bands that say that, oh, we don't care about image. Not caring about image, that in and of itself is kind of an image, if you realize it. It's sort of like how when people call themselves nonconformists, when in all actuality they're conforming to a nonconformity. Matter of Time is my favorite of Woven Wars. That's a good one. The band as it is, yeah. Striker 2. Yeah, Striker, they're great. Love that first album. Moving on. Melodeath. Well, I was saying before that it's the type of death metal that I tend to like the best, along with progressive death. And my favorite death metal band is a Melodeath, Children of Bodom. So where would I put this? Probably... I'm probably going to put it in the C tier with death metal, because it's still not something it's still not the kind of stuff that I go super out of my way for. Thoughts on shoegaze? I don't know. Don't really have much of an opinion on it. What's your origin story of becoming a huge rock and metal fan in general? I talked about this a little in my last video, the What's Wrong With on Green Day. It was sort of an amalgamation of a few factors. My mom playing the Beatles' one album in the car, getting into Green Day, playing Guitar Hero, and getting this big collection of compilations that one of my uncles burned for me. And that is something that definitely led me down the path. And another thing that sort of led me down the path was before Guitar Hero 3 came out. I've told this story to Space Metal. Before Guitar Hero 3 came out, I was trying to do research on what was going to be in that game, and I came upon this PDF of a voting poll that someone had put up where people voted songs that they wanted to see be in the game. Some of those songs did actually get to be in Guitar Hero 3, but that is what gave me a number of bands to look into. Granted, I wasn't crazy about all of them, but that is what sort of sent me along that path, and from there it was sort of like going deeper and deeper and deeper, deeper and deeper, and here I am today. Image is important to me. Image is important in general, whether people want to admit it or not. It kind of is. What's your opposal on how fans can support their favorite band artist? I would say follow their social media so you can be in the know about what it is that they're up to, whether it be they got new merch out, whether it be they're recording, whether it be they're doing a tour, whether it be they're doing something else, whether one of the members is doing something that they're promoting over there. Like, always be in the know for what they got going on so you can make the decision for yourself if that's something that you want to, look into, whether it be, getting a ticket for seeing them on the tour, or, oh, I'm really interested in what this new album of theirs is going to be like. And then, once that comes out, you can, listen to it on YouTube or Spotify or whichever you want to do. And if you like it enough to get a physical copy, you can do that. If you like it enough to just, buy it on iTunes or whatnot, you can do that too. That's sort of how I do things. The punk community, in my opinion, is worse than the metal community because they've never lived past 1978, and they claim they hate conformity, but you have to look a certain way, and you can't like Green Day. That's sort of on par with the metal elitists. I haven't encountered too many of them, but I know they've had this very anti-pop punk kind of outlook and whatnot. Yeah, I could agree to a degree, actually. However, elitist logic I also hate is when they think they are right just because they're older, which I will be talking about as well in an upcoming vid. Yeah, I mean, like, it's good for you that you've been listening to it for a long time. It's good for you that you were around for it. I don't think it really makes you better than anyone. It just means that you have some experience on your side, and I'm not knocking you for that, but it's like, okay, whatever. Rock elites in general, including metal and punk as a whole, the worst if you ask me. Dokken was originally thought to be in GH3. What? Aw, man. Which song of theirs is what I'm curious about? I'm guessing it was probably Breaking the Chains. Probably, maybe In My Dreams. Maybe Dream Warriors even. I don't know. Guitar Hero will always be the best game ever created, even Rocksmith 2. I will always appreciate Guitar Hero, not just for introducing me and a number of other people, really a whole generation of people, to a number of bands, but also it has a hand in making people want to learn guitar and whatnot, because there was a friend that I actually had that was really good at Guitar Hero. Actually, no, I had more than one friend that this was the case with. They were really good at Guitar Hero, so they decided to take up real guitar. One of them ended up being really, really good at it, an excellent jazz player. And the other one, it's kind of a sad story with this friend. He bought like a red Fender Strat. He wanted to learn to play it. He wasn't really good at it. And what ended up happening, this is the really fucked part. His parents were going through a divorce, and his dad takes his guitar and gives it to his girlfriend's kid. I was like, fuck you, man. He was wanting to learn the shit. And you're just gonna take it away from him? Give it to your fucking girlfriend's kid? Like, fuck you, dude. And what this friend ended up doing, he ended up, becoming really exceptional at piano. But that story always got me, like, really angry. Alcatraz put out some new music recently. I've been hearing about that. Who's playing in Alcatraz now? Why am I not going to... Why is Safari not... Oh, it's because this is in... Okay, so I gotta go here. And go to... Alcatraz. Joe Stump is playing with them. Wow. That's neat. That's actually really neat. I'm not sure how interested I am in checking their new album out. I haven't really listened to anything past the first album. Which No Parole from Rock and Roll is an excellent album. Very important if you're a fan of Yngwie Malmsteen. What festival or concert venues do you dislike? I don't know. I haven't really gone to very many festivals. The only venues I'd say I really dislike, I don't like when there is nowhere to park near the venue. Like the Brighton, Somerville area of Massachusetts, I've had terrible luck finding parking there, so that's why I don't drive there anymore. I Uber over there whenever I go to a concert there. A bitchy girl I used to be friends with on Facebook laughed at me because I said My Chemical Romance was post-hardcore. Like, what the fuck, have you ever listened to them, like, ever? Yeah, that's what makes My Chemical Romance kind of weird. Like, they have a catchiness to them, but they have a technicality to them as well. So they're really either or with, pop punk and post-hardcore. For what I was told, yeah, it was that song or In My Dreams. I'm going to see if I could download Dokken songs to Clone Hero. I still need to get a controller for that before I install the thing. Are You Serial? Yes. I was really angry. And this was a really close friend of mine back in the day, but even when his parents were together, I never really liked his dad. I always thought he was kind of jerky. How can you tell if someone's really emo if they don't have the emo wardrobe together? again, it's a lyrical thing, not really an image thing. Also, fuck your friend's dad. My dad would never do that, but if he ever did something like that, I would literally never talk to him again. Neil Sean's work with Hardline deserves more attention than fucking Don't Stop Believing. Yes! I talked about Hardline and the best glam metal bands you never heard of, but yes, listen to Hardline. MCR, they're their own genre in a way, kind of. Cool origin story. What played a big role in me becoming the rock and metal fan I am today was all the music featured on the radio stations V-Rock, in the game Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Yeah, some songs in my brother's sports games, I would say, also kind of played a role in it as well. As well as listening to No Excuses by Alice in Chains over and over when my dad put on Jar of Flies in his truck back in the early mid-2000s. The worst venue I ever went to was Upstate Concert Hall in Albany. It's not an awful venue, but they literally have no AC. The rules are so fucking strict, and it's a plaza with big lots and a church. I would kind of class Paradise Rock Club as a venue I don't really like. Not just because I can't really find parking over there, but because it gets crowded there very easily. What did your friend's dad do, though? He took my friend's guitar and gave it to his girlfriend's kid. Like took it from him. Didn't even ask him first. He just took it from him when he was trying to learn it. Alright. Got 2 more of these on the home stretch. Black metal. Talked a little about this already. I'm sure you guys probably already know where I'm going to be putting it. In the F tier. I've never really found anything super redeeming. I've never liked the vocal style. I never liked the production. People always ask me, like, if there's any exceptions to this or anything like that. And the stuff that tends to make for exceptions, I don't even really label as black metal and whatnot. Like, Merciful Fate gets classified as black metal, but they sound more like a traditional metal band and whatnot. But yeah, black metal is just really not for me. And again, I'm not saying you aren't allowed to like it, but it really isn't my thing. And do I want to get to the chat first? Yes, I do. My PS1 games are a huge factor of why I became a big metal fan, such as the song Fuel by Metallica and Hot Wheels Turbo Racing, Mean Streak by Y&T, and NASCAR 2000. That's my favorite Y&T song right there. Have you ever got excited at any concerts? I get excited at a lot of concerts. You know, that's why whenever I go to a concert, like, with somebody, I always tell them, you know, you're going to get to meet Concert Mike, because Concert Mike is much different than regular Mike. Yeah, that is a dick move for sure. Death metal bands are at least fun as fuck to see live and play on guitar for me. Black metal is on and off for me. Would you consider Razor Fist a metal elitist or not? Probably in some aspects, yeah. You know, I'd say he comes off as kind of close-minded when it comes to certain genres, especially like punk stuff and whatnot. Doesn't really talk too much about the stuff. He definitely knows his 80s metal, though, and I definitely give him kudos for that. And definitely knows how to, you know, dig into, you know, archives when it comes to that. You know, that's why, you know, his Mythos videos are, like, my favorite to watch from him. But, yeah, his opinions on Iron Maiden are also very, very weird. And another thing I don't really like about Razor Fist is his weird aversion of CKN. Every time he would make a dig at him, I'd be like, aw, you leave my YouTube daddy alone, man. I like your videos, but come on. Other than that, I think Razor Fist is a very good content creator, for the most part anyway. Though, a lot of his political videos are kind of hard for me to follow, but the Mythos videos, can never go wrong with them. Do you have any Sabaton albums? Of course. I would say first 4, maybe 5, I would say, are what I've heard from Sabaton. Space Metal here is very, very, very into Sabaton. Mean Streak sounds a bit much like an Iron Maiden song. Sort of. Personally don't care for black metal, and I agree strongly Merciful Fate is great, but in my opinion they're not black metal. I'll go as far as to say they're as black metal as Pantera's new metal. That's the reason that... That's the main reason I tend to see people shit on Pantera is like, Pantera influenced new metal, and it's like... So? Dave sounded a lot like Bruce Dickinson. Yeah, kind of. My journey began when Stout indirectly introduced me to Skillet. I heard the song The Last Night from his old BOTDF video. For some odd reason, I don't have an issue with Christian metal. I don't either. You know, I don't really care if a band identifies as Christian or have Christian-inspired lyrics. As to me, it's just another subject to write lyrics about, like anything else, really. You know, if you want to write about Jesus and God and that voice crack and stuff like that, like, hey, more power to you. I'm not gonna, discriminate against you for, being, a Christian and whatnot, because I don't really like when people do that. Just as long as you're not gonna, jump down on me for not being a Christian. I never heard any metal but old school metal I like most. I'm agnostic. Since then I've been into metal since then. Have you been on any tour buses? I have not. That would be cool to do one day. Caledon Brood is my favorite BM band. What's agnostic? Agnostic it's basically the in-between of believing in God and not believing in God. It's basically the in-between. Me, I've said this in videos before, I'm a deist, which means that I believe in a God and believe that a God created the world, but I'm not religious, and I don't worship the God and whatnot. Razorfist labeling shit as technical thrash metal is so fucking cringe. He does have some weird opinions, but again, when it comes to, 80s metal, he really knows his stuff. I'm just wondering, though, opinions on Downfall Network. I did a video responding to him. A really cringy video he did about, how metal elitism isn't a problem or something. His fans don't seem to really like that video, and Downfall himself, I think, is kind of a douche. I haven't really had very many good interactions with him. He's honestly the reason I don't really post very much in Cover Killer Nation's Facebook group, is because I know he's probably, like, lurking there and is going to be, like, really fucking snobbish and douchey with whatever the fuck I post about, and it's like, can you fuck off, please? Linkin Park introduced me to rock and roll. Yeah, Linkin Park can be an introduction for a number of people, I would say. V-Rock includes I Wanna Rock, Too Young to Fall in Love, Come On Feel the Noise, She Sells Sanctuary, Bark at the Moon, 2 Minutes to Midnight, Working for the Weekend. Yeah, like 80s stuff. God Blessed Video, Coming At You Live, Turn Up the Radio, Peace Sells, Madhouse, Rain and Blood, You Got Another Thing Coming, and Yankee Rose. Another factor of my metal fanboyism, SpongeBob. Yes, Pantera was featured in Preabination Week. And they parodied I Wanna Rock by Twisted Sister in the movie. That, of course, is true, too. I remember first listening to I Wanna Rock and thinking, oh my god, it's the Goofy Goober rock song. Actually, from my experience, most elitists actually like Pantera and hate new metal, especially Slipknot, at the same time, which makes no sense at all. Whenever I play Vice City, I always listen to V-Rock, baby. It only matters what the song lyrics fit with the actual sound and groove. This YouTuber I used to watch said he refused to give Lamb of God a chance because he heard their new metal. They're not, though. They absolutely aren't. Lamb of God, I feel, is sort of like a bridging point between metalcore and thrash metal. That's sort of my view of groove metal, in general. Death Rattle Shakes. Tom Mariah from Slayer Wars SpongeBob T2. I need to find an image of that. That sounds awesome. No, you did not spell his last name wrong. Motorhead was featured in the SpongeBob SquarePants movie too. That I'm also aware of. He was spamming and trying to troll you quite a bit, and he can be a douche, but he does make good content, though. I've skimmed through his channel. The thumbnails on his videos are pretty awesome, that I will say. Would you say Atlas Hour is metal? I have them classed under alternative metal, so yes. Finally, getting back to this goddamn tier list. Nu metal. One thing you should know about me is, if you've noticed in some of my videos, I use nu metal and alternative metal interchangeably. You know, and that's mostly because when the term nu metal was coined, it was used to refer to metal bands that were new at the time. And, you know, they spelled it NU just to, you know, make it sound really cool and edgy and stuff. But really, I feel alternative metal is a more, I guess, technical term for the genre, because it's basically a mix of alternative rock and heavy metal. Though I understand that some people have a differentiation between nu metal and alternative metal. They use nu metal to refer to some of the more aggressive bands like Slipknot, Korn, Coal Chamber, Mushroom Head, and what was that other one I was thinking of? Mudvayne. Whereas alternative metal is some of the more accessible, more radio-friendly stuff like Breaking Benjamin, Seether, Alter Bridge, and bands along those lines, sort of like heavier post-grunge and whatnot. But that's sort of how I define alternative metal. So, it's one of my favorite genres of music. It goes in the S tier. Prog metal and alternative metal, they're like my big two and whatnot of like my favorite genres of music. My big three would put pop punk in there. My big three, where a lot of my favorite bands play. But yeah, there we have my tier list right here, where the S tier is like my favorite stuff. The A tier is stuff I like, but I wouldn't really go out of my way to call it a favorite. B tier is stuff I like, but is not stuff that I go out of my way to really dig deep into. C tier is stuff I can dig, but is not stuff I would go super out of my way for. Then the D tier is sort of like C tier, but like there's even less bands I tend to listen to from them, and I go even less out of my way for. Then E tier is stuff that I don't hate, but I wouldn't really say I like it either. And then the F tier is stuff that I just won't listen to. So, that concludes that. So, now I'm going to export this. Exporting this to desktop, genre tier list, PNG, export, and that concludes that. So now I'm going to go back to the main window and catch up with the chat. If you combine Pantera and Steel Panther together, you get Mudvayne. Really? SpongeBob got a lot of good rock songs. What two bands do you think can create a Wrathchild? That depends. Are you talking Wrathchild America or Wrathchild UK? Wrathchild UK is one of my favorite thrash metal bands. And one of my favorite bands from the Bay Area scene. I don't know. I feel like for Wrathchild UK, I guess New York Dolls, definitely. New York Dolls meets... Probably New York Dolls and AC/DC, I guess. What would you say is the scummiest person you ever had to deal with, though? I'm not going to mention his name, but I'm sure some people in the chat know who it is I'm thinking of. But yeah, I really don't want to mention that person's name. I kind of alluded to him a little in my last stream, but I'm not going to mention the name. Alternative metal is Breaking Benjamin. Good point considering how successful they were in the mid-2000s. That same YouTuber I told you about even saw Lamb of God open for Slayer, and he completely zoned out for them. Like, bro, you ain't going to give him a chance? That sounds really disappointing. Like, man, Lamb of God have some great riffs, though, and they had one of my favorite drummers. It's unfortunate he's not with them anymore, but Chris Adler was so excellent. Lamb of God are near the tippy point on my concert bucket list. I wouldn't put emo rap in this because they're a rap subgenre. That's essentially what I was thinking. GTA 5 has a punk station called Channel X that helped me. How did I discover Avenged Sevenfold? How do you think? Through Guitar Hero 2 with Beast and the Harlot being in the game. It sounded a little weird to me at first, more specifically with the chorus, but the more I heard it, especially with like the other riffs in the song, I'm like, this is great. But yeah, that's how I got into Avenged Sevenfold. I think now is the right time to make a political rock song like Rage Against the Machine. I mean, I know Prophets of Rage exists and whatnot, and I don't really think they stand up to Rage Against the Machine, as I said in the What's Wrong With on Rage Against the Machine. But that would be interesting to see them actually, since they're doing that reunion tour, if they made a new album too. I would actually be very interested in that. I like your video about Trapped. Yeah, I had fun with the Trapped video. It's still a video that I like looking back on. Other notable GTA radio stations for me are Wave 103, Flash FM, Emotion 98.3, Radio X, and KDST. Excuse me. Yes, Chelsea knows who I mean. Space Metal knows who I mean as well. And if Felix Wolf is still watching, he knows who I'm referring to. Yeah, the worst person I've dealt with was some guy who, I won't mention his name as well since I don't like to think about him much. And yeah, what would you rate Trapped? As I said in the Trapped video, I don't hate them. I think they have some alright music. I wouldn't say it's terrible. I would put them, out of 10, probably a 4 or 5, probably. For me, I discovered rock from Beavis and Butthead. Trapped isn't a bad band, just CTB is just an idiot. Yeah. Yes. He really just needs to shut up now, especially, and, he's still running his mouth and whatnot. Like, I don't know if he's self-aware or not. Part of me thinks he probably is. Like, when Atticus was making his Trapped video, one thing that happened was he was saying that Trapped was making a new album, and I'm thinking, oh god, don't tell me this is all just a publicity stunt to promote his new album. It's like, no. But if all this is still just to promote their new album, it's like, all right, you want to make a new album? Cool. That's great, But I don't think this is a good way to talk up your music or promote it and whatnot. It's like, okay, now that I've got your attention, I'm working on some new music. Get hyped. And whatnot. I discovered A7X in actually neither Guitar Hero or Call of Duty. NASCAR Thunder 2004, Chapter 4, and NFS Most Wanted, Blinded in Chains was my first introductions to said band. Even though Mike Judge made fun of music videos, I discovered a lot of good stuff from that show. Yeah, and that's why I kind of feel guilty for not wanting to try watching Beavis and Butthead for the reason that I did, which was because they make fun of Winger. Fuck you. Winger's great. It's like, yeah, they goof on Winger, but nowadays I look back on that and it's like, I don't think that's a particularly fair reason to judge an entire show on. Beast in the Harlot introduced me to A7X as well, with the song being featured in Burnout Revenge. He was always playing the victim, bullying people, and is a sociopath pretty much. And yeah, he also doesn't even go to my high school anymore, partly because of me. We're talking about the guy that you were dealing with. I thought we were still talking about Trapped for a second, because Trapped plays the victim. He bullies people. He's kind of sociopathic. Yeah, Trapped, I would say, is sort of like a C tier new alternative metal band. Yeah. I never heard of Trapped. Some of their songs sound familiar. You've probably heard their main hit, Headstrong, somewhere. Back off, I'll take you on. Headstrong, will take on anyone. You've probably heard that somewhere. They're a one-hit wonder anyway. My favorite song by them, I mentioned this in the One Hit Wonder Bands video. My favorite song of theirs is Stand Up. I just like the sound on that song a little better than Headstrong. Wait, the new album is actually out? Holy shit. Hold on. Hold on a second. Let me go to Wikipedia here. 2020 in heavy metal music. June. It says it comes out on the 19th. Unless it got leaked. Which, you know, if it did, I can't really say I feel sorry for them. I don't really care much about Trapped's new album. It's not like their first. Yeah, I don't really have any interest in checking it out. I'm sure I'm probably going to see someone in the music review community talking about it. I'm pretty sure I'm going to see a video from Rock Critic about it. Maybe even ARTV, but that's like the most I can really anticipate. Trapped more like Crapped. Yes, that's the first thing you hear in my video. I want to check out A7X, but I'm not sure where to start. I would say start with City of Evil, and then listen to either Wake in the Fallen or Self-Titled, and you can determine which sound you like better, and then go off from there. But peak quality for me, I would say, would be the Stage. Otto is my spiritual Simpsons character. Yes. Yeah. Let me find something on my phone, actually. After a certain concert that I might have not met you in person at. I recorded a little video that I sent to somebody. I gotta find it first. There it is. Alright, Metallica rules. I recorded that as I was walking out to my car from that concert. Chapter 4 is where I started, but if you want to get blown away, start off with either Almost Easy, Afterlife, Critical Acclaim, Blinded in Chains, or Nightmare. Almost Easy is my favorite song from them. Traps, Echoes is awesome. No, I will actually claim Trapped More Like Crapped as fact because the singer is a douchebag. Back Off, I'll Suck You Off. Headstrong, I'll Suck Off Anyone. That's been a thing for a while. I know Trapped's album came out. What I hope isn't the reason why it's out now. I hope it isn't, you know, Chris Taylor Brown wanting to do what Run the Jewels did and just release their album early because, to give people something to listen to through these trying times and whatnot. It's like, dude, I don't think people are wanting that. I don't think they're, unless they're just wanting something to laugh at, I guess. I don't think that's what they're wanting. You're just copying Run the Jewels, basically, if you're just releasing it on your own early and whatnot. If it got leaked, again, I can't really say I feel sorry. Least favorite thing about power metal musically? I don't know. Some of the vocals can be a bit much. Some of the songs can be a bit long. But that's the only real negative thing I can really say about it. I recommend starting with songs like Beast in the Harlot, Bat Country, Nightmare, So Far Away, Almost Easy, Afterlife, and A Little Piece of Heaven. Anthony Fantano or ARTV will review this crappy band album. I'm pretty that's another thing. I'm sure Anthony Fantano will probably give a not good review of it, and it will be funny. I can't imagine he would be giving it any more much attention than saying this new Trapped album, it's not good. Rock Critic has Trapped in the bin. I'm sure he does. I don't know if he's going to be talking about it in his next Fimmy, or if he's going to be doing a dedicated video to it. But I'm sure it'll make for good video material for him. City of Evil and Waken the Fallen are the only two good Avenged albums. City of Evil is my favorite, then Self-Titled, then The Stage, then Nightmare, then Waken the Fallen, then Hail to the King, then Sound of the Seventh Trumpet. LMAO, that video. Shades, you sound like you gurgled nails in that clip. I don't know. But now I want to drink. Trapped lead singer thinks he's in his 20s, but in reality he's a boomer. It's not even just that he's a boomer. But yeah, he just doesn't want to grow up. Springfield 1993. Hey. Yeah. Macho Man Randy Savage. The members of Red Sun Rising said I get free tickets to see them and free meet and greets. Wow, really? By the way, said isn't a word. It's said. Oh yeah, besides Cuck Metalcore, Chonky the Bear sucks as well because he used the Rev's death as a way of earning him attention. Wow, that's douchey. BTW, have you heard of Rocked? Yes. I think Rocked is an okay content creator. I wouldn't say I like him as much as Rock Critic, ARTV, or Spectrum Pulse as far as the rest of the Rock Coliseum crew. Mainly because sometimes I feel like he tries a bit hard to be funny and whatnot. And his speaking style seems a little kind of off compared to the others and whatnot. But overall, I think he's a solid enough content creator. And I appreciate his reviews. People shit on Lamb of God for delaying their album. That's unfortunate. Haken also delayed their album as well, I found out earlier last week. Actually, not last week. That was literally yesterday or the day before. Haken's delaying their album as well. I'm pretty disappointed there, but hey, at least it's not as huge of a delay as with Steven Wilson's next album, delaying it all the way to next January. If forfeiting a wedding means seeing Cyanide tribute to Poison live, so be it. Oh, man. That's a good moment when... I mean, obviously, that girl was a bitch for doing that, because I hate it when people do that. You're going to need to choose between your music or me. And then Otto just goes on the bus and parties with the band playing nothing but a good time. If you mean elitist shit on Lamb of God out, I don't even... Is it just elitists doing that? I mean, I can understand being upset about it, but I wouldn't go out of my way to say fuck you for it or anything like that. Chris from Trapped will take on the wrong motherfucker and he won't feel headstrong. We saw that with him trying to step to Ice-T as well as Diablo. That should have been the end right there, but apparently not. What do you think of Sevenfold songs Warmness of the Soul and Shattered by Broken Dreams, two songs of Sound of the Seventh Trumpet? I'm not the craziest about Sound of the Seventh Trumpet. Haven't really vibed well with it. Waken the Fallen, I think, is when they really found their sound, I would say. And, you can hear traces of what they would eventually do on City of Evil, but they still had some more general metalcore elements on Wake in the Fall, and that's why I like it better. Chonky the Bear. I love rock content. He's all right. Yeah, he's all right. You know, seems like a nice guy as well. I don't mean to focus on such small problems, but someone who's definitely a boomer is Damon Scott, aka Gaiman Scottish, since he literally thinks he's better than me because he's older. I think I know who you're referring to. He was somebody that had a bit of a tussle with around the time I made my Stick to What You Like video. And I might or might not have some comments of his in a folder that might or might not be for a follow-up to a video of mine that I'm sure you probably know what it is I'm referring to. I know Space Metal definitely knows what I'm referring to. But haven't really found a good time to begin production on that. But yes. Yeah, Damon Scott is an elitist that I've tussled with before with some comments. I don't want to spoil them for you because of said thing that I'm alluding to. Rock Critic used to scream too much in his older videos. I haven't watched too many of Rock Critic's older videos, but Rock Critic, compared to Rock Critic, I feel has more personality in his videos. Because that's another problem I kind of have with Rocked is I don't really see as much personality with him as I do with Rock Critic. You see a lot of personality with him and whatnot, and I like his editing style a lot better. Talk about Jesus Christ. Oh, God. Oh, God. Jesus Christ was my first actual feud on YouTube. Or at least what I consider my first actual feud on YouTube. He made a really bad video on me that basically just consisted of Shades is boring, and I'm going to, just scream my face off all the time, force emotion, use a bunch of weird hand motions, and not really put effort into my editing, and at the same time say that your editing is terrible. And what else? What else? Oh, God, it's been such a long time since I thought about him. But yeah, it was a really bad and cringy video. And I don't entirely disagree that my 2013 content was not great, but, I wouldn't say that means that the Jesus Christ video was good and whatnot. Because at the end of the day, it was just really cringy to watch, and it's the same with every other video I've seen. Especially the video that he did about why he hates school. That was cringe. It's Thrash Metal Guru actually uses a clip from that a lot when he's just standing there and then just fuck school just randomly out of nowhere. He also called me an SJW. That's another thing. you know, that that is sort of what inspired the Anti-Elitist or SJW's video, is because this is something that's funny about metal elitists. You know, they try to use the SJW card on you because of your music taste or something, or you don't like the whole discrimination aspect of what they kind of do that apparently makes you an SJW. And I find that really comical because metal elitists actually have more in common with SJWs than I do, really. Because they both gatekeep, they both are very unpleasant, and both like to sort of fling insults at you and try to, as means of like trying to discredit you and whatnot because of what you like and whatnot. M. Shadows did say in an interview that when they worked on the first 2 albums, he would scream on all parts of the songs. They couldn't decide on how or when there would be singing. Have you watched any of Metal Jesus Rocks videos? No. I've never heard of that person. I remember he kept calling you the best ranter? No, he called me the worst. And he said he'd rather shove a stick up his ass. Yeah, that was funny. I remember Take Shot Action did a video defending me in response to that video that I was very appreciative of and made me feel a lot better. And of course, we cannot forget the best catchphrase ever. Eviscerator of cunts and defender of the sanctity of logic. That reminds me, whatever happened to Sam Totman ranting channel called Sam Totman what? I still talk with Take Shot. I've talked with him before about, you know, what I thought of him privating his videos. I've talked to him about trying to get him to at least unlist his videos and provide, you know, a link to like a playlist of them. I should probably try that again sometime in the future. Metallica are also death wish mongers like SJWs. Pretty much. Also, Damon Scott, no offense from what I've seen from his thumbnail pic, he literally looks exactly like Vanilla Ice from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, if any of you know what that is. I have some friends that never shut up about that, but I'm not an anime guy, so yeah. As well as revert to screaming when their feeble logic is challenged. Precisely. Yeah, and that's the thing that I find really ironic whenever, you know, they try to throw the SJW card at you and whatnot, mostly because they probably just learned what it was and think it sounds really punchy and whatnot. I should quit GIMP right now and throw this Photoshop file away. And there we go. But yeah, I still talk with Take Shot, you know, every now and then whenever he comes online. He's in my Discord server as well as other Discord servers that I'm a part of, you know. Shameless plug for my Discord server that's linked in the description. Ranter I miss the most. Either Take Shot Action or JJ Discussions. One of them. They were both excellent. Both had good speaking styles. Take Shot, of course, is one of the nicest people that I've met. And Jordan was pretty cool whenever I talked to him as well. But his videos were quite good. And who would be the biggest YouTuber that I'm friends with? Well, if you're referring to the most popular YouTuber that I have added as a friend on Facebook, The answer to that, I'm going to have to go. Let me go on Social Blade to see who's bigger, to see who has more subscribers. God damn it. There it is. So 1.02 million versus 2 million. Okay, so he wins. The most popular YouTuber that I have added as a friend on Facebook is actually Steve Terraberry. But the most popular YouTuber, the biggest YouTuber that I'm actually friends with, that would be Nate Talks to You. I've been friends with him. He was one of the first friends that I ever made in the community. He's helped me a good bit, and he's one of the most humble people that I know. Like, my green screen actually came as a recommendation from him because it's the same one that he uses. And the thing that I've always really appreciated about Nate is, he's got all of these subscribers. He's got like over 200K subscribers. He's got a big following on Facebook and Twitter and whatnot. And he still makes time to talk to people like us and whatnot. And, stays true to his roots and stuff and whatnot. And, he comes to me sometimes if he has a question about something, if he wants to show me something or something like that. He's available for me to ask questions to and whatnot. Nate is a very good friend, and I love him. And he's an excellent content creator as well. RIS is wearing a tee of the first band I saw live. Praise Jesus. I fucking miss JJ, both while he was a metalhead and when he was a normie. I wonder what the change was. I don't know. All I do know about him is that he's a father now. And FM, I am not going to answer that because that is something I really don't want to speak about because it's kind of a long story and not a story that I really care to go into detail with. It's sort of personal. So yeah. I'd say the most popular person I know and I'm so friends with is someone that goes to my school called Dante Albidone, and he was on the Umbrella Academy show. Let me check this notif. All these Discord notifs. Let's keep it casual here, guys. Don't want to make shades uncomfortable. Thank you, Chelsea. Though, since, the chat's kind of dying down, I'm probably going to cut the stream about now, because now is usually a time where I like to go get food. So, thanks for chilling with me. Thanks for watching, the tier list and chatting and stuff. Clusterfuck was cool too. Some guy I do miss, even though he's kind of still around. Yeah, Stevie, I still see him around. He occasionally makes videos, mostly does streams and whatnot. He is a cool mofo as well. And his interview with Chris Hansen is legendary in my eyes. So, yeah. So, yeah. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you have a good rest of your evening.